across emerging and welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices.
Hello everyone, my name is Pratibha and I'll be your moderator today. So if at any point you have any question or if you want to know more regarding the GSDC, please feel free to use the chat box. So let's start with the session. A very warm welcome to all of you back into the Learning and Development webinar. Just allow me a minute to share my screen so that we can start with the session. I hope you're all ready for that. So, on behalf of the Global Skill Development Council, I'm truly delighted to welcome you all into the GSDC Studio Learning and Practice Real World Learning and Development Case Studies across industries. In this webinar, you will be unlocking the secrets behind industry leading learning and development transformation by learning from real world case studies, which you can apply in your daily professional life. And one of the things which make this webinar so amazing is so interesting is the amazing expert of panel we have lined up for you. Some of them have already delivered a very incredible and insightful sessions, and others are all set to bring in more powerful ideas. So, for those who have joined with us for the very first time, let me give you a quick introduction who we are. Global Skill Development Council, a globally recognized certification body. We are accredited by ABICB. Till yet, we have a 250,000 professionals certified with us. We are associated with 500 plus subject matter expert across global, and we are also associated with 1,000 plus multinational companies and 50 plus universities worldwide. So these are the training providers who are associated with us, and currently we are authorized with 100 plus training partners across globe, including the Asia, Canada, Africa, Australia, Nigeria, Singapore, and many other countries. So special thanks to all training providers to helping us improving our training program. And a very special thank you to our media partner WordPress Hub to help us simplify our initiative and reach it to the wider global audience. So before starting the session, I just wanted to make a quick announcement that we have just launched a very unique platform called GSDC AI Studio Lifelong Learning Initiative. In this, you will be getting the 100 plus live monthly sessions with global expert, including 4 daily sessions, 45-minute live expert lead session for hands-on learning, sessions from global expert. You can learn directly from our AI leaders around the world. Real-time practice, you can apply concept immediately and get your question answered. Certification ready, you will be getting the training aligned with industry standard for job ready skills. So do you want to know how you can get the benefit of GSDC AI Studio? Well, let me tell you. So there are 3 ways. First, you have a free 14-day access in which you will be getting the 80 plus live session per month and access to full GSTC Studio. Second, you have a GSTC lifelong membership. You will be upgrading to Pro in $109 and you will be getting the lifetime access, 80 plus live session per month, access to full GSTC Studio, free GSTC membership, access to physical event, LinkedIn profile improver. Last but not the least, we have GSTC certification plus lifetime membership. So now participant, this offer is for a very limited time of period. Make sure you're taking the advantage of it because it is starting from $100 only. And you will be getting the GSTC certification, all benefits of lifetime membership, personalized coaching, capstone projects plus AI tool, GSTC Copilot, and competency assessment tool. So currently we are covering 100 plus certification in our portfolio, including the learning and development, HR, Gen AI, agentic AI, emerging technologies, ISO lead auditor and implementer, project management and PMO, agile DevOps and SRE, cybersecurity, digital transformation, and many more. With that, it's time to introduce our speaker. Today we have Mary Ann with us. Mary Ann is a learning and development manager. She is also very passionate training professionals with over 25 years of proven experience in sales, coaching, training for new hires, seasoned employees and managers. Skilled in classroom and field training about adult learning principles, NLP techniques and dynamic curricular design for in-person and virtual environments. She brings a decade of management expertise in sales and training, including coaching, leadership, budgeting, and forecasting. She recognized as a mentor and trusted advisor, known for creating engaging and result-driven learning experience. So unfortunately, Marianne would not be available, could not be available as a live for this session because she had an medical emergency. But she has sent us a recorded session for us, which we are going to use the play to this session. And if you have any question, if you want to connect more, with the Mary, or if you want to know anything, I'll be sharing her LinkedIn ID as well. Also, you can use the chat box for dropping your questions. All of your questions will be taken to by the speaker and will be answered in our blog and LinkedIn post. So just allow me a minute to start playing the recorded session. Meanwhile, if you have any query regarding the GSDC AI Studio or GSDC initiative, please feel free to use the chat box. And we have an announcement to make at the end of today's session for which is a $400 worth gift certification voucher. So we'll hang tight till end of today's session. Just allow me a minute. I'll be sharing the screen. So meanwhile, I would love to know from where you guys are watching, where our audiences have seated today. And also, what are the feedback you have? What are the session key takeaways you are taking from this learning, guys? We would love to know that. If you're not able to hear the session, please do let me know so that I can check
There
once.
are in the world. I am talking to you from lovely La Palma, California, USA, which is about 20 minutes away from Disneyland.
Participant, I hope you're all able to hear the sound. If you're not able to hear the sound of the session, please use the chat box to let me know so that we can fix that immediately. And have an insightful session too.
And the good news is that sometimes you can hear the fireworks, but it's already past that time, so we won't be bothered. But I'm so glad that we are here to learn about training and learning that sticks. So thank you, Sarah, so much for your warm welcome, and to the Global Skills Development Council for your passion and efforts to lead us to lifelong learning. And a special thanks to our sponsor, World Press Hub. Okay, so we are getting ready to start. We do want everyone, please, to grab a piece of paper or 2 or 5 and something to write with, because we're going to have you take some notes, because I'm going to do my darndest to make sure that you find value and, hint, hint, be able to make this training that we're doing at this time, make it stick. Okay, so I'm going to give you some bad news, okay? The bad news is that we, as learning and development professionals, have a problem, okay? And imagine, if you will, let's say you've just finished a training and, you spark change, you got people excited, but nothing happens. The next day, people go back to their old habits, or they say, oh, I didn't learn that, or I don't understand it. I don't get it. I need more training. And that's okay, because that's adult learning for you. But what's happening is it's a systematic problem that we have in this world of learning and development, where we do not focus sometimes on having training that makes sense, that sticks, meaning we have practical application the day of the training, if it's a half day or an hour long, or the next day. Can they practically apply what they learned? And it just doesn't happen by holding the training session. Okay, so can you please let me know in chat? And Sarah's going to let me know if we have any, comments. That would be great. That's okay, Sarah, to interrupt. I'd love to know if any of you have ever delivered a training only to have it not get used. Oh, that's no fun, not good at all. But if you've been training for any length of time, it's happened. Okay. Now, this particular training is meant for everybody, from the CLO, the Chief Learning Officer, to the frontline trainer. I'm equal opportunity. Okay. So I want everyone, from the Chief Learning Officer and everywhere in the middle, who trains, to be able to get value. Okay, so with that in mind, I want to change this not to a forgetting curve, but to a learning curve. Okay, so with that in mind, if we don't enforce and practically make sure that people can apply the training that we provide to them, that we've worked so hard, okay, what's going to happen is an hour later, okay, I hate to give this statistic to you, but an hour later, they're going to have forgotten what? About half of what you taught them. Okay, you kind of only are 50% there. And then the next day, they're going to only remember about 30%. And I got to tell you, this is not a good return on effort, ROE, but after a week, only about 10%, okay? And while it looks kind of like a sideways smile, I want to change that curve. I want to make it to be a remembering curve, okay? So that's what we're here today, okay? If this sounds good, please give me a note in chat. And Sarah, if we have any particular comments in chat that you want to share, I am more than happy to incorporate those, okay? Especially if there's questions right away, okay? So I've given you a problem. If you're here and it's 10:30 at night and wherever you're at, I'm ruining your night. If it's at 10:30 in the morning, I'm ruining your day. But that's done with because I have provided you or going to provide you with a solution. Okay. So I'm going to show you some tips and tricks and strategies on how to make a training go from, okay, I did it, to a great one that results in lasting behavioral change, because that's why we train. We're not just here to give a lecture and not give you information that you can use to make your life or your job that much more relevant and worthwhile. Okay, we're here to educate you, to give you knowledge. Okay, and what's this solution is, again, the concentrated focus, the laser specific focus of making training stick. Okay, so one thing that I would ask you as a learning and development professional, whether you call yourself a trainer, a teacher, a facilitator, a thought leader, I ask you to ask yourself, this behavioral change that we want to affect, is it something that can be effective, and also can it be measured? And that is not easy, my friends. But if you can figure out a way to measure it, then what gets measured gets done. Okay. And then finally, again, are you just talking about a specific knowledge transfer? Is it a soft skill? It is a hard skill? Is some technical knowledge? You're going to be very focused on that. Okay. So hopefully we can continue on and go. Now, throughout this session, I try to put on my slides things that were sticky. Okay. I don't know what you call them in your hometown, but we call them Post-it notes or sticky notes. They're the little squares that you can stick on the wall there. And again, just like I mentioned, whether you're a CLO, Chief Learning Officer, or frontline trainer, my friends, you are responsible for making training stick, not the content developer people who gave you them information, okay? Not your boss, not the CEO, not the compliance department. Bottom line, the ownership stops and starts with you, okay? So with that in mind, we're going to talk about the afters. After my training, after your future training, we're going to talk about those practical, actionable items for you to take away today and tonight, so you can, after this training, have a checklist, have a roadmap in which to follow. Okay, so if you like that, please let us know that in chat. Okay, and believe it or not, like any good training, I have an activity. So please do not judge my drawing skills, but everyone, please grab out a piece of paper. Okay, and what we're going to do, and make sure you have something to write on. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to draw your hand on a piece of paper. Okay, so you can see my little paper here, and if I hold it back far enough, I think you can maybe, nope, see my hand. Can you see it? So the outline of your hand, we want you to see that. Okay, so hopefully you're able to do that. And then if you're not a good artist like I'm not, again, it should show the 5 digits there. Okay. All right, so what are we going to do with this? This is our little art activity for the day. You're drawing your hand, okay? Because why are you doing this? At every point, we're going to be talking to you about some takeaways, and I want you to write them down so that tomorrow, when you've lost 50, an hour from now, when you've lost 50% of this, or tomorrow, 24 hours from now, you're only having, like, again, a little bit more or a little bit less, the bottom line is that we want to make sure that you retain as much as possible. Okay, hopefully that's fair enough. Okay, so when you have a teachable moment, when you have an aha, when you have something that says, oh, Marianne, that makes sense, I want to remember that, put it down on your piece of paper that has your fingers on it. Okay, and again, on the palm of your piece of paper, got mine here, I want you to write 4 words. What I commit to. 4 words. What I commit to. And guess what? We don't judge on spelling. Okay. So with that in mind, we want to take that forgetting curve into a remembering curve. Okay. So that might be one thing you put on your fingers. And by the way, if you're running out of fingers, you got the other side of your piece of paper and you got another hand. Okay. We've already talked about one thing you can put on your fingers is, again, the forgetting curve. But guess what? Let's take that forgetting curve and scratch it out and write the remembering curve. Okay. All right. Hopefully we're having fun. And we'll talk about fun in training in just a moment. Okay. So with that in mind, what's the problem with why training doesn't stick? And again, I have a situation where here's a fence, the paint's peeling off, and why is it the paint peeling off? Is because it wasn't properly prepared. Okay, they didn't maybe sand it well enough, or they didn't prime it, or they used a dirty brush, or maybe they didn't clean the fence. Okay, the bottom line, as far as trainees are concerned, why does training not stick? Sometimes, my friends, it's just information overload. It is just too much information in that amount of time. Okay, our brains can do amazing things, but they can only absorb so much at a time before they get overloaded, and they start to, your ears start to steam and heat comes out your head. Okay, so information overload is one of the biggest reasons why, again, training does not stick. Another one is lack of alignment with actual work. Okay, now alignment's a big, $10 word here, but the idea is it is not designing the training with workflow taking into consideration. And I love my friends and colleagues who are content developers, but if they are not trainers who are developing your content, or you're having this content be provided to you from a third-party source or a different department who are the subject matter experts, that's great, but they're not trainers. And so with that in mind, the content is not designed with engagement and involvement. It's just trying to get that information out there. And I get it. But if you want it to stick, you want it to last, you want it to be a good ROE, return on effort, then you've got to make some changes right away. Okay. And my goal is that later today, unless you're like me, which will be going to bed right after this session. Okay. But the idea is, if you're going back to your job or your place of work and designing training, and you're prepping for training and getting ready to create training, I want you to put this practical application today. Okay. So with that in mind, lack of alignment. Let me just talk and tell you a little bit about a brief case study. I had a trainer, her name was Laura, and I've trained everything from solar panels to, I'm in healthcare right now. I used to be in sales and advertising, marketing, you name it. I've done a little bit of everything. Okay. With that being said, I had some sales training that I was rolling out to a divisional office. And it turns out I knew them fairly well and they knew me. So they knew what to expect. But what was so interesting, I had this gal named Laura in the back of the room every time. And she was what we call a naysayer, or kind of a negative person. She was always in the back of the room with her arms crossed and like, oh, this is a waste of my time. I'm never going to get anything from it. You guys don't know the real world. And I finally had it. So once before I was getting ready to roll out the training, a week prior, I was all prepped and ready to go. But a week prior, I reached out to Laura and I said, Laura, I need your help. I've got this training. I believe I know how to position it so you, the audience of our sales reps, will know what this is and why it's important and how to process this particular new product in the sales operating system. What I did, I said, Laura, I need your help. Can I take a few minutes, tell you what it's about, and you let me know if what I am saying is resonating with you, a long-term successful salesperson? Well, I'm pleased to tell you that Laura, while still a tough cookie, okay, she was really a hard nut to crack. But with that in mind, she kind of got off a little off her high horse and said, yes, I'll take a few minutes. And what was so wonderful, she gave me amazing feedback. Literally totally changed the trajectory of my training and my focus because I knew now what a subject matter expert would say and do. Okay. So with that in mind, fast forward to that wonderful session. Not only did I have Laura's attention, because we had a group of like 50 people crammed in this small room, she was literally telling other people to quiet down and pay attention because Marianne was giving you important stuff. So I love it. She was an ally and advocate. Okay. So if you ever have something really tough, involve those SMEs or SMEs, subject matter experts. Okay. Why else is training not sticky? Again, poor reinforcement or manager follow-up. My friends, training is not just a one-time event. It is a journey, okay? It is a pathway. And the idea is that we can't do it ourselves, okay? It needs to be backed up by the manager, the supervisor, okay? It's got to be reinforced. In some cases, retrained, and that is not a bad thing. And we'll explain that in just a little bit, okay? But the managers have to be on board, okay? That means you might need to do the training of the managers prior to the training of the employees so they know what they're going to be learning so they can, one, support you, support the content, support the new information, have some patience, and get a leg up if that's something new to them as well. Okay. Another final reason why training just doesn't stick is because the lack of accountability for measuring the behavioral change. Years ago, and again, I've been training probably longer than some of you have been alive, but years ago, we used to see and experience what we call checkoff trainers, meaning they did their training, they had their little instructor's guide, notes they have their, death by PowerPoint kind of thing. But the deal is that they checked it off and they went on their merry little way and they never looked back. And they think, oh, I did great. No one said and had any questions, which we'll talk about questioning in a moment. But the thing is that they didn't actually have ownership on behavioral change, okay? And by the way, if you don't monitor it and you don't measure it, did behavioral change really occur? Okay, all right. So one little quote that I wanted to share with you, we are investing time and money on our training, okay? But we're often missing the mark, not because we don't care, but because the process is not entirely complete. Well, that stops with us today, okay? So with that in mind, you remember that I said the word after, okay? So what do I mean by the after? It's what's going to happen today after the training? What's going to happen tomorrow after the training? What's going to happen next week after the training? Okay. The idea is, what do we expect them to do? Is it to answer the call center in a certain specific script? Is it to handle a sales complaint with a specific process with entering in some data? Is it doing an intake from a medical perspective? Is it doing a needs assessment of a new client for solar panels or advertising or some other project for the government, for example? The bottom line, if we focus with the end in mind, with what do they want to do afterward, okay? and we focus on real world application, the follow through and the results, then training is more likely to what? Have a remembering curve and to stick. It's never going to be 100%. Okay. I'm telling you right now, but we can get a lot closer. Okay. It shifts the attention away from the content. Okay. And that's why I'm beating this drum here. It shifts it away from the content to ensure that the information and knowledge is transferred, is retained, applied, and of course has a lasting impact. Okay. Because again, if we don't change the behavior, why did we do that? Okay. So please write down the following. It looks like a fraction, but really it's just the number 6 over the number 8, and it's not a fraction. And if you were in a real life session with me, I'd have you read it out loud. But my friends, I want you to all know, and if you haven't studied adult learning principles as a trainer, teacher, coach, chief learning officer, my friends, you are doing yourself and your learners a disservice. Okay. There are so many books and podcasts and webinars and hello friends named Marianne who know about adult learning principles. And again, we're lifelong learners and we need to make sure that we are experts in subject matters in our craft. Okay. But the main thing I want you to put down on your piece of paper, and you can put that on anywhere you want, just so you remember it and write it down. This is to remind you that it takes adult learners between 6 and 8 times to see it, hear it, touch it, do it, feel it. Okay. Smell it if it's a situation where they're checking the gas levels. Okay. The bottom line is it takes it from their really short-term memory to their little bit more their immediate memory, excuse me, to their little bit more short-term memory. Okay. Why is this number so important in learning and development? It's amazingly critical because of the fact that you can tell a person once and they're going to probably forget. You tell them a number of times, they're more likely to remember. Okay. And by the way, if you tell them and you make it interesting, and you tell them and you make it interesting and you make it fun, it's more likely to be part of the learning curve. Okay. But this statistic, the 6 to 8 times, okay, is really important to share with those managers. You know, those subject matter experts and those managers that they're talking to, even the content developers, they may or may not know this. Okay. They need to have enough repetition within the content in order to make it sticky. Okay. And on my first slide, you might have noticed beautiful, delicious honey. Well, honey is great, but it's really sticky. Okay. But that's good. That's what we want our training to be ready to go and to stick around. Okay. So, why do I want managers and my C-suite, again, CLO, if that's not me, our CEO, our chief learning officer, whatever the case may be, my executive suite, my senior leaders, why do I want them to know about the 6 to 8 times? Because I want them to understand. I want them to be patient. I want them to know that when somebody completes a training, there's still going to be that adoption and adaptation time, and it's going to take a little time. Depending on if it's something as simple as a call center script that they're reading verbatim, well, that's probably going to be pretty quick. But let's say it's a formula for oxidizing solar panels, who knows? Bottom line, that could take a little while longer. We want them to know the process, and we also let them know it's not an instant solution. Okay? All right. So if you are a CLO, okay, and by the way, I'd love, love, love to know in chat what your titles are. And if you don't have a good title, make one up, okay? But as a CLO, Chief of Leadership, or excuse me, Learning Officer, I want you to take a look, commit, and as a matter of fact, I would put that on one of your fingers, commit today to audit your training approach and not just, oh, let's check it off. We had, 80% of the people completed. We had 90, 100%. Everybody completed it. That's great. But you know what? We want to see how did it affect the performance? Did it make money? Did it save money? Did it save time? Did it improve efficiency or quality? Okay. All right. And by the way, let your learners, and this is not something I have on a slide, but I wanted to point out to you, let your learners know that you're going to be monitoring and measuring and how. Okay, because it makes it more real for them, makes them feel like, okay, I am going to be judged on how I pay attention. Okay, just like I had asked you to take notes, I'm very judgy, but the idea is I want to make sure that you get your value because you're spending your hour and 15 minutes, and bottom line is that's something you could be doing elsewhere, but you are taking time to learn. You're taking time to make yourself a better learning and development professional, and I applaud you, which, by the way, they say that learning and development professionals who invest 2 weeks out of the year on their personal and professional development make 33% more income over their lifetime. So learners are earners. Okay. Now let's say you're just a frontline trainer. And again, guess what? Everybody's a trainer. But self-check yourself. Are your trainings outcome driven, meaning behavioral, practical, measurable? Can you monitor it? Or is it just, oh, I gave them the content. I gave them the job aid. Let them go and they'll figure it out. Ooh, I hope not. Okay. So with that in mind, that might be, if you're a trainer, that might be another finger that you would analyze your content, the one you're rolling out later today or tomorrow. Okay. And ask yourself, is there something I need to do differently to make sure it is outcome driven? Okay. Hope we're doing okay. So let's talk about a brief framework, okay? And feel free to grab your camera, take a picture of this screen here. This is a picture frame, of course, a real fancy one. But here is just a simple 5 steps in how to have a roadmap to make it sticky. Okay, it's really basic. And again, the first one is make it timely. Okay, don't train something today that they're not going to use for 6 months. Okay, or if it's going to be a time frame, know that you're going to have to revisit that and retrain it because changes probably have happened. But make it easy. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be teaching brain surgery in an hour-long session. Okay, that's a long iterative process. However, there are certain things like, again, the sutures and the cleanup and making a main line to a vein and things like that all can be broken down into replicatable learning chunks. Okay, smaller bite-sized pieces. Okay, all right. So we'll talk about making it easy, making it simple. Number 2, my friends, make them active and involved. Now, how have I tried to do this with you today? I had to grab out a piece of paper and something to write with, and we've had you write stuff down. I've also asked you to put some stuff in chat. Okay, if we were able to talk a little bit more freely back and forth, I would ask you to be on camera, and I'd have people come off mute every once in a while, but that's kind of not this framework. But the bottom line is take a look at your content and make sure, how can you make it learner centric? Okay, because it's all about them, not about me, not about you. Okay. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed, Sarah did a really wonderful, sweet job of introducing me. I didn't need to add any more to it. And guess what? You don't care what I've done. You care what I can teach you to make your job easier, better, faster, stronger, and your occupation more relevant. Okay. With that in mind, number 3 is reinforce. Okay. Make it memorable and make it sticky. And you can even talk about stickiness when you're talking to your learners. Why not, explain to them that, oh, what you're doing is an effort to make sure they get it and they're able to recall it and able to do that action later on today or tomorrow when they're done back at the job. Okay. And then finally, it's got to be usable and practicable on the job. Okay. Now, has anybody ever heard about Salesforce? Okay. That is a CRM, a client relationship management software. It's probably the number one, at least in North America. If you use it in other countries, please let me know. But what it is, it's a big, fat, juicy, software, cloud-based software that allows you to input all kinds of information about your accounts, your clients, just everything. Well, when I first, many years ago, got taught on Salesforce, they taught me everything. Okay. And they were so proud of themselves over at Salesforce. But literally, and this is before I was a trainer, I didn't even know how to barely log in because they taught me things that I didn't need to know. Okay. They did not take the time to understand how, again, you might have heard of a little company called Verizon. That's where I used to work. The bottom line is they never took the time to see how this telecommunications giant was going to use this software. Does that make sense? So it wasn't usable. So what did we have to do? We had to get in together in groups and like self-teach ourselves. And that was not efficient or effective. And it was downright frustrating. Okay. Finally, fifth and finally, support. Engage those managers, engage those leaders. Okay. Make sure that you have the autonomy and the ability to, again, tweak and work with your content to make it sticky so their investment, their ROE, return on effort, is going to be there. Because guess what? Those C-suite leaders, they want the training rolled out, but they want behavioral change most of all. Okay. And you as the professional have got to lead them down the right path. Okay. All right. So let's talk just a little bit about connecting. Okay. How do you connect it? You align the training with real world challenges and scenarios. Okay. So when you're talking about training, again, I'm not a college professor. I'm not talking about theory. I'm talking about really using this software. I'm talking about using this new process. I'm talking about using this new technique. Okay. Again, most often when I am preparing for a training, whether I'm creating it or I have a content development team or I've been provided it off the shelf, but I'm still going to make it my own. I'll still find out from my learners and their managers, what do they know about this topic? Okay. In a little bit, I'll be sharing with you a case study about how I taught managers. At first, I taught them how to interview by sharing them the theory and the questions and the whys behind the questions. But later on, taught them a different way, and it was very significantly 47% more advantageous in as far as the behavioral change had come to fruition. Okay, so use stories. I told you about my friend Laura, which we're still friends, which is great. You can use characters, you can use scenarios, you can use role plays. Okay, please don't just have it be. And again, I'm feeling like I'm doing lots of, just chatting up myself. But the idea is that make it interesting and make it real and relevant. Okay. And always ask yourself, why should they care about this preventing harassment? Why should they care about this safety course? Why should they care about tolerance in the workplace? Okay. Why should they care about using this new system? Okay. Why should they learn about Excel pivot tables? Okay. Relate it to something that will help them do their job better, faster, stronger, or easier. Okay. All right. So here are some what we call anchors of sticky training. Okay. When you release an anchor from a ship, it sticks to the bottom of the ocean until you really pull it up, and it takes some effort right there. Okay. So I want everyone to remember, and again, this might be some more fingers that you add. And boy, if you've already used your 5 fingers, love you. Let me know and add some more. Okay. With that in mind, the anchors of sticky training. First, design with the end in mind. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Okay. Engage the learner's brain. Okay. Then we're going to talk about bridging the gap. And again, take it out of the classroom and into the office, the field, the workflow, and it's all about the workflow. And by the way, friends, if you don't know the workflow of your trainees in regards to this topic, then you've got to do what you can to get with those subject matter experts, even if they're helping you cross-train, okay, or co-train with you. The bottom line, and you need to put yourself in their shoes, okay? And finally, boy, reinforce relentlessly. Don't give up. Always keep hammering. Always keep getting that concept through during the training. And we'll talk about the value of repetition, repetition, repetition. Okay. But again, be relentless on that. Okay. So let's talk about design with the end in mind. Okay. All right. It's kind of like I'm a big traveler. I've been to 43 countries so far in this world, and I've got 43 more to go. Okay. With that in mind, when I plan a trip, I start with the end result that I want to go to India, and I want to see Agra and the Red Fort and the Taj Mahal, and I want to taste, really delicious food. And I want to understand some of the religious practices. The bottom line is that that's the end result. I backpedal from there to like, okay, well, how am I going to get there? Am I going to have, a la carte on my own, independent travel, or am I going to take a group? Am I going to go by myself? I'm going to go with friends. Who knows? Okay. So same thing with training. Align training objectives with the workflow. Okay. Now let's talk about objectives. Okay. And when you have corporate, and most of us are parts of businesses or corporations, okay, you've got some corporate goals. Some people call them OKRs. Some people call them KPIs, key performance indicators. Some just call them goals or objectives. The bottom line is I would double dog dare you. Okay, that's a serious thing. I challenge you to make sure and take a look at your corporate universal goals and see if they can tie into your objectives of your training. That helps people feel part of that whole mix of those bigger, loftier goals. Okay. Finally, when you are preparing for your training, and I'll assume that you've been given training, make sure all along the way you are checking for understanding. You are asking questions, okay? I've asked you a number of questions in chat, and hopefully we're getting some feedback there, Miss Sarah. But with that in mind, all along the way, whatever you do, if you could see me, I'm on my right knee begging, please, please, please don't wait until the very end to ask the questions, to check for understanding. It may be too late. Remember how we talked about how the users not being able to always see the big picture, okay? And if you don't break it down into smaller little chunks, they may get lost, okay, because it's too big. So break it down, okay? So with that in mind, trainers, chief learning officers, when you're getting ready to have this training rolled out, okay, and CLOs, your trainers better be able to answer this question. Trainers, you better be able to answer this question, which is, what should the learners do differently today? What should they do differently on Tuesday? What should they do differently on Monday or Friday, whenever the next, business day is, okay? Make sure they can answer that question, okay? Now, speaking of questions, and this would be a good one to take a picture on with your camera, because again, I know it's a lot to write down, but I will tell you, by asking questions and encouraging questions too, but by asking questions, it is so incredibly powerful, okay? There's 5 key benefits. And by the way, you could use a whole 5 fingers just on this. It's empowering, okay? It gives you confidence. Oh, that's my little timer, Kitty, to make sure that I'm on time with my training. How cool is that? But with that being said, it's empowering, gives you confidence, because in order for you to ask questions, you have to know what the answers are or lead them to the answers. And again, to teach is to learn twice. So again, make sure that you have all your questions prior to your training. if you ever once in a while come across something that, midnight, the day before your training, and it's too late to get that question answered, that's okay. Don't make it up. We only want to give right 100% accurate information so you can let them know. Guys, I thought of the same question you did. I've already reached out. I don't have an answer yet, but as soon as I do, I will let everyone know. Okay. Clarifying questions is very powerful because you can clear up any confusion and it lets you know, aha, they are getting it. Okay. They are picking up. Okay. People won't always raise their hand, okay? And we'll talk a little bit later on about being brave and bold and courageous and really encouraging your learners to really speak up, which, by the way, if you're taking notes at home, and I really hope you are at work, write down the number 5, just the number 5, not another high five there. But the idea is that for every one person who has a question, there's 5 people statistically behind them to have the same exact question or something really close, but they weren't brave or bold or courageous enough to actually ask it. Okay. All right. So with that in mind, questioning makes it more of a fun topic because by people asking questions, it helps other people hear the question in somebody else's tone and how they say it, because maybe they have articulated it in a better way than you did. Okay. Again, your classes often have subject matter experts that know a lot more than you do. Okay. Finally, it's insightful. Sometimes they will think of something that you didn't in your prep, so they've stumped you and you don't have the answer. And guess what? That's okay. We can't be the experts on everything, but sure enough, if you folks ask me a question today and I don't know the answer, well, we want to make sure that we get your email, and guess what? Come high water, I'm going to get you that answer as to the best of my possible ability because I've got a lot of connections. Okay. Finally, when we ask questions and people feel open and willing to be brave and bold, it's a safe space where other people feel comfortable too. And that might make the difference between them making those connections, right? Making the dots come together, or having them leave training like, I don't even know what that was about, or I don't know what to do, or, hey, did you get that? Okay. So the questions are very, very powerful. Okay. I do a train the trainer at the various companies that I work with, and some of these topics are part of the train the trainer, but 3 questioning techniques that make you more of a facilitator than a director are what we're going to go over just quickly right now. And this all helps make what? Sticky. Okay. So one questioning technique is called wait time. That's why I have the little alarm clock there. Okay. Wait time is when you have a particularly difficult question, or it's a multifaceted answer, or you just really want them to kind of ponder it. In other words, it's not just a simple closed-ended question. It is, open-ended. Okay. So if it's, tell me about, what is the process for nuclear fusion? Okay. Which I don't know, but I'll find out with ChatGPT, baby. But at that point, you pose the question, you let them know, we're going to give you 60 seconds or 30 seconds, or we're going to give you some think time to formulate your answer. And by the way, I'm going to ask everybody. I'm not just asking that one person. Hey, Rajat. Hey, Susie. Hey, Carol. Bottom line is that what, not just one person. We're going to ask everybody to, again, come up with the answer, because that makes people engage. Now, I'm a person who is an equal opportunity questioner, okay? Meaning in my classes, no one is safe, okay? I do try to care for my introverts versus my extroverts, but the bottom line is my ownership, my responsibility is to make sure they get it, okay? And so I'm not going to have them leave my nursing, how to take temperatures or draw blood session, which I don't teach blood draws, but I don't have them lead those sessions without knowing and demonstrating they know how to do it. Okay. The second major questioning technique is invitation. You give the question, and then you invite, who's willing to be brave, who's willing to be bold and courageous to give me, an answer. And again, we give them we maybe already gave them some wait time, but we offer them to give it a shot. Okay. We want them to feel comfortable with, again, asking that question and putting themselves out there. Okay. So even if they bomb the question, they're not even close, still give them accolades, atta boys, atta girls, yay, thanks for being brave and bold, okay? And again, does anybody else have anything to add to that or a different answer, okay? Finally, again, have questions be open-ended, not yes or no or very limited. The answer is 12, okay? Have it be more open-ended. Ask the why question, ask the what, ask the how, ask the when questions, okay? So if this is making sense, please, let me know it's making sense or it's not making sense in chat. I would be really eager and happy to see that, okay? All right, now, I love this cartoon, okay? And it shows the intersection of what you, the trainer, want to say and what the learner is interested in. And what happens is the two kind of meld together in the middle, and that's called relevance, okay? What do they want? They want to be relevant. And I don't know about you folks, but, here in the United States, people are kind of concerned with Chat GPT, for example, taking over their jobs, okay? So what's really interesting about that is that, and I'm a huge fan of AI, but what's interesting is that it's not, as we understand it, because I'm a lifelong learner, it's not AI that's going to be taking over some of the jobs that exist now. It's the people who know AI. Okay, so people are hungry for being relevant, and how can I, overcome this acquisition? How can I be the person to get that promotion? How can I get prevented from being looked over? The bottom line is for them to get that knowledge transfer of education. Okay, and guess what? We're the catalysts, and that's why we became trainers, so we can help other people get where they're going. Okay. All right, so one of the fingers you might want to write down is ask yourself, if you're the CLO, okay, the bottom line is, does your training initiative, does it, does it tie into, again, a strategic KPR, KPI or OKR goal or objective? It does let people know that it does tie and how it ties and how it makes a difference, okay? That might be something you might want to write down as your takeaway, okay? Trainers, I only want you to ask one simple thing. After your CPR training, after your new process training, after your Salesforce training, what do you want them to do differently after the training? Okay. And if you can answer that, and it's crystal clear to you, to your C-suite, your executive leaders, as well as your learners, you have had made a home run. Okay. All right. So a couple of quick things. Engage the learner's brain. Okay. And of course, I love this because it shows a left brain and a right brain. Okay. How do we make the brain of the learner engage? Well, my friends, there's been all kinds of studies on your brainstem. Okay. Now, I can't see you guys on camera, but I'm hopefully seeing people smile. I'm definitely having you guys write some things down. Hopefully I'm, having you, do some reading. And in some cases, I know it. I can feel it. That some of you are head nodding, are like, yeah, she's right. Or no, she's crazy. Okay. But with that in mind, we as learning and development people, we need to make sure that the head stem, the body, is doing some kind of movement about every 10 minutes. Okay, some say longer, some say shorter, but 10 is terrific. 10 is a good idea. The bottom line is, don't be sitting there talking for, again, 30 minutes. And again, I know our conversation's a little one way here, but the idea is that get them to nod, thumbs up, thumbs down, wave, do some, chair yoga, do something, have them write down, say yes, say no, or I don't know. Bottom line, get them moving. Okay. What else can you do? Have active learning simulations, role plays, okay, scenarios. Get them to stand up. Have them lead you in some kind of skit, okay? One time we had a process. We challenged everybody to come up with a rap song, which was totally stupid and funny, but guess what? They remembered the process, okay? Finally, build curiosity and emotions to improve what? Their retention of their memory, okay? Why do we need to do this with adult learners? My friends, and if you could see my background, it's blurry, but because I love travel and I collect old-fashioned suitcases, and I have a bunch of old-fashioned suitcases behind me. What's really interesting is that a lot of adult learners have a lot of baggage, not good antique luggage, but baggage. They've got things going on at home, at work, with their family, maybe their kids, maybe it's their parents, maybe it's their community. Bottom line is we have so much on our shoulders, okay? And with that in mind, to have us make time for learning can feel like a stress or a strain, okay? So we've got to somehow make it interesting for them to make room, so to speak, make room in that closet for our additional stuff, okay? All right. So how do we do it? There's a couple of different ways, and I want you to make note of some of the different learning styles, okay? Now, my friends, if you've been in learning and development more than a couple of years, you've heard about the learning styles. So you're thinking, Marianne, why are we talking about this? Well, here's why. Like a good book, like a good podcast, like a good movie, okay? The more you hear it, the more it gets ingrained. And remember, adult learners need to hear it, what, 6 to 8 times, okay? The bottom line is that we bring it up because it bears repetition, because it's so important, because sometimes your content people, and I don't mean to pick on them, but sometimes they forget. They look at just getting the content out, and they don't take care of what? The visual, okay? Now, again, feel free to take a little picture of this, but the idea is that, again, a lot of us, that's why we have slides, right? We've got the visual. We've got to see it, okay? Auditory, okay? Now, I'm having a great hair day, but I wanted to make sure that I heard you guys, I heard Sarah, and then when it comes time for our Q&A, I really want to hear you. But again, for us to hear it, okay? That's why auditory folks love, hearing the radio, love hearing satellite radio, love, again, music, okay? Then finally, there's tactile, or what I really like is talk about kinesthetic. It's people need to do it, okay? So remember when I went through the Salesforce training, one of the things they did not do is they didn't have us do any scenarios in Salesforce. They showed us on slides, they gave us handouts, but we didn't get a chance to play, okay, and break it, okay? So bottom line is, as you are thinking about ways to make it sticky, make sure you've got some visuals, okay? Make sure that you are telling people, okay? Because again, you want to show them, you want to tell them, and most importantly, you want them to do it wherever possible, okay? With that in mind, you don't necessarily always know your learners. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So guess what? When you are looking and preparing for your training, make sure that you have all these learning styles taken into consideration, okay? Next, I want to talk about communication styles, okay? Now, that's a whole course, a whole science of communication styles. Now, this is not personality styles. This is how do people communicate, okay? I'm not going to be able to even touch the surface of this. I suggest that you read some books on communication styles. If you reach out to me via LinkedIn, I can give you a bunch of different resources, okay? But the bottom line is that sometimes you have people who are analytical. They love spreadsheets. They love statistics, okay? Our CFO, Chief Financial Officer. She's a wonderful lady named Lily. She is a total analytical. When I present to her, I've got to make sure I've got my statistics and my numbers, okay? But yet, drivers who, my CIO, a wonderful guy named Paul, he's all about the bottom line up front. He wants it bullet points, and he is, maybe not as patient as everybody would like to be, but the bottom line is he's ridiculously smart. And again, he is super busy, so I need to bullet point. Okay. We talk about the nice folks, the amiables, the people who are more into building relationships. Again, we need to make sure we're teaching to those folks as well. We sometimes, again, have to tell the stories. We add some color to the statistics, but we also keep to the point. And finally, you might have guessed I'm an expressive, okay? And again, a lot of us trainers are. We love to have fun and we like to talk. But what's really interesting is that we have to know when to talk and when to listen, okay? But guess what? Use these styles and keep them in mind when you are designing your training, okay? So please, please, please promise me that you'll do more research on communication styles, please, okay? All right. This is kind of a funny thing. I don't know if you've ever heard this before. If you've ever heard about the 3 types of trainees, please put that in chat. I can't wait to see that. There's 3 kind of participants that you might have, okay? The first one is the prisoner, okay? Now you might think, oh my gosh, that's really harsh. But the bottom line is, what is the prisoner, okay? Well, the prisoner is the person who feels like, this class is a waste of time. Why did my boss make me come here? Okay. They feel like they can't learn anything and they're not going to learn anything. Okay. And what's really interesting is they are just there because they are forced to. Okay. If they had their way, they wouldn't be there. Okay. Have you ever had one of those in class? I sure have. Okay. Now, a prisoner can be made to be a learner if you explain and get them engaged and explain the benefits to them. You can sometimes turn a prisoner into an engaged learner, okay? And by the way, there's many techniques on how to make that prisoner your ally. And by the way, Laura, my friend from my Verizon days, she used to be a prisoner. Well, now she's an ally, an advocate, or she was when before I left. And the idea is that because I showed her value and I engaged her, okay? Then there's the vacationer, okay? Now, the vacationer, they see this as, woohoo, I get 2 hours from not having to do my job and I get paid, okay? They are excited, but they physically check out. They're the ones who are constantly on their phones, okay? And they also feel like, it's not my worth time to engage. I'm just not going to put any effort. I'm just going to be here and be a bump on a log. Okay. Well, again, similar to prisoners, you share with them the benefits. Okay. And you engage them and you make them want to participate. Okay. And make it sticky. Okay. And make it fun. And you can turn a vacationer into a learner. Okay. Now, our favorites are those wonderful people who are the ones who sit up front, right? The ones who ask the questions, the ones that are engaged, or seem, you can tell with their eyes, are putting it all together. You got to love them, okay? But if you don't engage them, okay, and they don't see some intrinsic value, guess what? They can all of a sudden become a vacationer, or worse, a prisoner. So don't let that happen. Try to bring some prisoners and vacationers along to be learners and keep those learners engaged, okay? All right. Woohoo! We're going on the home stretch here. CLOs, what's your takeaway? Something else to add to the fingers, okay? Make sure that you fund and provide the resources to promote brain-based learning, okay? What do we mean by that? We mean everything from, again, AI to simulations, okay, to, again, some training use virtual reality, okay, some use, again, scenarios, scavenger hunts, you name it, there are all kinds of techniques. Don't be afraid of technology, okay? Give it a shot, because you'll see that people are wanting and expecting the latest and greatest technology wherever possible, okay? Now, I say on this slide, cut out passive e-learning, okay? Now, that is not to say that I don't love e-learning. I absolutely love e-learning. But my friends, CLOs, don't just think you can give a person an assignment or 2 or 12 or 100 and think, oh, I've given them all of the management level courses. They should now be a perfect, wonderful supervisor, people leader, team lead, or manager. Don't fall for it, because the bottom line is they need to have that engagement. They also need to be challenged to, again, pay attention for understanding, for listening and responding based on understanding. Okay. So please try not to get into that habit of just having your trainers assign e-learnings and thinking that is going to give you effective knowledge transfer. That will not be as effective as, again, the personal touch. Okay. Even if you don't have the ability, because of time zones and things like that, if you don't have time for the personal touch or a live or recorded session, still you want to set up those e-learnings with a purpose. Take this 22-minute e-learning, watch for X, Y, and Z, and then be able to answer these questions along the way or at the end. And then we're going to join a group next Tuesday to discuss our answers. Okay. The ideas we want people to push themselves and think. Okay. The other takeaway, again, we're talking about fun. Okay. And again, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to have fun. Okay. I love having fun. Okay. And by the way, normally I would be asleep for an hour by now, but I'm having too good of a time with you guys. Okay. But having fun boosts your brain chemistry. Okay. And laughter and enjoyment. Okay. Makes dopamine. Okay. And dopamine plays a key role in attention and memory. Okay. Absorption is like a sponge. Okay. So when people are laughing, they are learning. Okay. Now, you don't have to be a comedian. You don't have to be nonstop jokes or anything like that, but find little ways to make them comfortable, make them smile, and again, have a good time. Okay. Fun increases engagement. That's always a good thing here. And again, I've literally had people say, oh, wow, actually wasn't bored in your class. I'm like, yay, that's a great thing. But do you know how to, process this complaint? Or do you know how to process that referral or that denial or whatever? Okay, yes, I do. Great. Because I definitely don't want you bored, but I want you to be able to do that claim later on today. Okay. Um, when people are laughing and relaxed, their muscles are less tense. Again, that helps absorption and recall, okay, and builds psychological safety so they can take risks. They can raise their hand for clarification, okay. They also can network with their colleagues to know that, hey, they have a safe cohort. They have a safe group to come back to, okay. Laughing and fun and making it interesting enhances creativity and productivity, okay? Because again, you play together, you learn together, you've got a common bond, okay? Fun reduces stress, okay? What do they say? Laughter is the best medicine, okay? That I think absolutely is true. I was at a yoga class yesterday in a park, and we did a move, and I don't never remember hearing this, but we did a move which was talking about a laughing pose, and we literally were in the park laughing as we're doing our little hand things. It was awesome. I loved it. I'm going to incorporate that into my training, okay? And then finally, it improves the recall, okay? So lots of takeaways for CLOs as well as trainers, okay? Trainers, with that in mind, we want to ask you to take a look at your slides, okay? And make sure that, every fifth slide or 20% of your slide have some kind of challenge or learner-generated content where they have to, again, check for understanding or repeat what they've just learned, or pair share, right? That you tell a partner or you tell a small group or you write it down, okay? Have them do something interesting, okay? All right. Okay, very good. Now, remember we talked about workflow, okay? It's great that they said, oh, Marianne, great job, loved your class. I really kind of don't care about how much they liked me or the class.
So thank you so much, Mary, for the session, for sending the recorded session. We are hoping to see you live in the future as well. So participant, if you have any question regarding the session or anything, please feel free to use it. And all of the questions will be answered ahead from our time. So just let me quickly wrap up this session. So just allow me a minute to share my screen. So if you guys are ready for getting the certification into the learning and development, now certification is available on our website. 20% off. So by using this coupon code, you will get the 20% off. So if you're ready for the certification, go into our website, check for the certification, use this coupon code which I have sent into the chat box so that you don't miss out, and get the 20% off, get certified into the learning and development. So I have a query. I see a query from Aminat. How do we get access to the remaining presentation? So Aminat, I have shared a POC email ID of aditi@gsdccouncil.org in above. I'll be sharing once again after this. So you can connect with her directly for getting this recorded session or the knowledge of the process, how you can watch the recorded session once again. So as I have started introducing this utility tool after few day before few days, and I've already started getting more positive response from all of our uh, most of our participants, that this tool has been helping into job hunting journey, because in today's AI era, everyone is taking the help of AI. So the HRs and recruiters are also using the AI ATS screening system to screen your resume for sending into the interview process. But let's face the fact that is also one of the biggest reason most candidates' resume get rejected even after having the skills and experience. So what you can do, you can take the help of utility tool. You can log in into utility tool by using your LinkedIn ID and password. We are also giving a complimentary coupon code to all of our participants, which will give you 100% off. So use the coupon code which I have shared into the chat box so that you don't miss out. And this tool will give you a recommendation according to the job designation you are targeting and the industry you are targeting to re-improvise your LinkedIn profile. And it will make you stand out in front of the HRs and recruiters. So when everyone is taking the help of AI, why not? Take the help of UI and make your job hunting journey even more easier. Stand out your resume in front of the HRs and recruiters. So for upcoming week, uh, 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 as in the last week, we did is only going to be for 3 days, and now the link is going to be one. I really apologize to all of the participants. I got kicked out of the Zoom session, so we have to check on the technicality level, and I'll be making sure next week we are not going to have this problem. So let me just give you an update regarding the upcoming events. So in upcoming week from 15, 16 to 17, we are going to have the session on learning and development webinar on including the healthcare and AI. So the topic we are going to cover, that is going to be clinical excellence 2.0 skills everyone modern practitioner needs, healthcare AI essential, diagnose, decide, deliver, L&D and L&D's future in AI world. And the timing is going to be 11:30 p.m. Singapore time, 9 p.m. Indian timing, 9:30 a.m. Central timing, and 10:30 a.m. Eastern timing. So I hope to see you all in in upcoming week as well. And we are going to have session for ISO 4201 and ISO 27001 across industries also. So if you are an ISO enthusiastic, I would strongly recommend you this webinar. And this is also going to be conducted only 3 weeks, 15 December, 16 December, and 17 December. And we are going to cover the topic navigating the compliance meets ISO 42001 and ISO 27001 strategies for IT leader in 2026. Future proofing IT, mastering ISO 42001 and ISO 27001 for seamless compliance across tech domains. And from policy to practice, implementing ISO 42001 and ISO 27001 in IT for resilient and secure operations. As well as we are going to continue the AI implementation series, but that is also going to be only for 3 days in upcoming weeks, 15 December, 16 December, and 17 December. And we are going to cover the topic of AI agented digital health assistant, the new frontline of patients care, multimodal AI diagnosis, faster, earlier, and more accurate decision making, predictive analytics for prevention and personalized healthcare. So I am hoping to see you all tomorrow as well. For AI session, the timing is going to be 9:30 p.m. Singapore timing, 7 p.m. Indian timing, 7:30 a.m. Central timing, and 8:30 a.m. Eastern timing. For ISO event, the timing is going to be 10:30 p.m. Singapore timing, 8 p.m. Indian timing, 8:30 p.m. Central timing, and 9:30 p.m. 9:30 a.m. Eastern timing. So I'm hoping to see you all in upcoming weeks. And with that, it's time to announce our referral champions. So we have Bhanu Durgesh, EBI, and Avinash Kumar. So special thanks to all three of you for helping us simplify our initiative and reach it to the wider global audience. So if you want to be one of our speaker, learning capsules, webinar, and podcasts, you can reach out at pratibha@gsdccouncil.org. And these are the platforms where you can connect with us, our LinkedIn profile, our website, our WhatsApp group. Also, we would love to hear your feedback. We would love to know what are your session key takeaways and learning outcomes. So I'm sharing all of this link into the chat box so that you don't miss out. So connect all of the platform for staying updated for upcoming events and trends. And also please drop your suggestions and feedbacks on through the reviews.io. And with that, it's time to come to an event. Thank you so much once again, Mary, for sending this recorded session. It was very amazing and insightful. I'm hoping to see you in future session as live. And thank you so much, all of the participants, for joining into our learning journey. We'll meet once again in upcoming week on 15 December. Till then, keep learning, keep energizing. Have a good day, good night, good evening, wherever you are. I'm sending Aditi's email ID. She is the POC for recorded session. Once again, into the chat box so that you don't miss out. So you can connect with her for the process of how you can watch the recorded session once again.